So welcome, everyone. Welcome to Polis and Prague again. It's so awesome to see a lot of familiar faces, but also a lot of new faces coming every year. This is the 6th year of Hackers Congress, and I'm lucky because I get to open one of the first talks. But before I get into actually introducing the speaker and doing all the formalities, let me just play with all these pockets. Yes, do the magic. Because life is full of coincidences, and just like a couple of days ago, I got this message on WhatsApp from a person that I know. He's a lawyer, and he lectures, and I want to read it to you because it's totally in the context of what we're going to listen to for the next 40 minutes. And this person is lecturing as a part-time professor at the Beijing University. And he messaged me that he's trying to develop mutual licensing standards for privacy protection services to build a common Eurasian cyberspace. And of course, those of you who know me can anticipate my reaction. I was like, that's awesome that you're working in the privacy sphere. I'm supportive of that, but don't you think that any kind of licensing potentially opens a backdoor, or that the licensing will even require a backdoor for the governments, especially in China? And his response really struck me. So that was, he said, "You're dreaming if you think you could ever avoid that. My approach is to create transparency of standards and to bind the practices to them. And the more sovereigns subscribe to it, the stronger they can defend privacy." Well, and so there are two streams of thought, right? We want to legitimize AI and standardize and provide legal framework. And then there's the second approach that Olga stands for, because she is one of the authors of OpenAI manifesto. No?
Free AI.
Free AI. I'm sorry, Free AI, because OpenAI is one of Elon Musk's
Yeah,
endeavors.
but he actually stands for like fluffy pony type of AI. Not
Come
my
on
type
stage,
of
come
guy.
on stage. Please give Olga a warm welcome. By the way, Olga Ukalova is also a doctor, so she will be the one drilling the hole into my brain when I want my Neuralink, right?
Well, I will build a machine that would do that better than I will.
I feel much better that a woman's going to do that with her sensitive approach. But please,
Thank you.
take the stage.
Thanks. Hi, guys. So thanks, Alena, for perfect introduction. My talk would be, at some point, not a monologue. I don't want to do that. I actually want to start a discussion. Therefore, I will try to make the talk as fast as I can. And then I would actually want to have a conversation with you. So the name of the talk is Non-Aggression Principle, not the sleeping nap, but Non-Aggression Principle for Artificial Agents. And I think we can start with that. I'll have 3 chapters, as far as I remember. The first one is about communication. Why communication? Why do I start with this? Because non-aggression principle itself is the principle of communication and interacting amongst several different agents. Communication is, from Latin, the successful conveying of any information from one agent or group of agents to another through different mediums. I want to stress at word agent here, or group of agents, because there are different types of agents, not just human to human, that do communicate with each other. And the types are biological. It means when 2 cells meet, they somehow interact with each other, they exchange supplements, and then this is actually communication. Human communication, which is mostly language, the computer network one, and also 2 of my favorite ones. The first is economical one, which is basically trade. because when we trade something with someone, it actually is a communication, whether it's verbally, whether it's going verbally or not unverbally. And my favorite one, probably, the first communication, which is usually either a competition or a war, and it's usually from game theory perspective, is happening with zero-sum games. What properties usually communication protocols have? They have the common context, they have the understandable language, meta language, which is also very important, error checks, privacy, and proofs of the information, of the validity of the information. Common context for humans is actually culture, environment that they were born or they interact in. Language is something that everyone knows that we use. We use words, we combine symbols, we compose messages via combining symbols. Also, we use meta language, which is kind of, I would say, is gestures and outfits and all those details that you can not grasp, but you understand the information from that. Error checks is basically something that we always do. When we hear new information, we try to find the source of it. We try to verify whether the information is true or not, whether someone is lying to us. And this is how the redundancy is going on. And the privacy. The privacy in our human communication is probably not that it's very common for us, but again, it's very complex because when two people from the same environment meet, they can use their own language that will never be understood by any outer group of people or other human that do not understand the meanings of the words that we use. So, in human communication, every person needs to store the information about the culture, needs to be able to compose and encode the information in order to pass it without losing any kind of meaning, and to be able to receive the information, and of course to interpret it correctly and to be able to act on the received information. That was one approach. You haven't noticed something wrong with the slides, right? The second chapter would be about different approach to communication. There was in, I think, early 90s, a great work by Shannon, which is called Mathematical Theory of Communications. And here are several quotes from that. My favorite here is that the actual message is the one selected from a set of possible messages. And Shannon, as a lot of scientists, they skipped the term, I would say, meaning of the message, because it was just irrelevant for him as an engineer and as a scientist. This is a quote by probably my favorite man ever. If each man had a definite set of rules of conduct by which he regulated his life, he would be no better than a machine. So basically, it says that if we would be able to predict any communication and any interaction, we would not be different from computers. This is the logical question that arises after the quote. And we are very tempted to say, no, we're not machines. But are we sure about that? For example, there is in war fighting, in military, there is a thing which was invented by John Boyd in 1952, which is called the OODA loop. It's basically how the Marine operates in a very unstable environment. It composes of several steps, which never actually differentiate from one situation to another. Every Marine getting into this situation observes what's happening, orients in what's happening, makes decision based on the different kinds of alternative information, different kinds of alternative paths, and actually acts upon the information and upon the results of observation that he had. Also, a great, I think he was an anatomist, doctor, medical doctor. He had a theory of functional systems, and as far as you can see, we have the exact same pattern if we talk about simple behavior patterns of any kind of mammal, any kind of animal, any kind of human. It says that getting into some, if we take a rabbit, for example, getting into some box with different stimuli, at first, his reaction would be to observe what's happening with him, what's happening around, what has changed. The second step would be to make a decision based on the changes. Then to make up the mind of what to do, how to react on the stimuli, and eventually to act. So again, if we can predict, if we can use one simple algorithm for almost all kinds of situations that animals can be in or humans can be in, are we really different from what we have in machines now? This question leads us to this feeling, I think. Because if you come over to any simple person and you start describing that everyone, starting from mammals to your wonderful son, for example, everyone uses the same patterns, and probably you would frighten the person. And also, if you say that there is another type of agent, which is nowadays called AI, which might not use the same patterns, probably you would freak the hell out of the person. For me, probably the scariest thing of the AI agent is the intelligence. Because I've been asking a lot of people what intelligence is, how they define it, and I've never ever received the answer that would suit me. The first question was introduced by Alan Turing, which was can machine think in the imitation game in his paper. And after that, a lot of people gained the fear of some superintelligence agent coming over and grabbing everyone and throwing them into the kettle, probably. So my friends and we at the Free AI Manifesto Club not invented, but we started the discussion what intelligence is, and I want to introduce two thoughts on that, and I would appreciate your feedback on that. So the first thought was that the intelligence is the ability to correctly calculate complex multi-step strategies in multi-agent environment. For example, we can take a crow, a bird. It can actually calculate 7 steps ahead from the place where it is now, and to act on those strategy. But does it make it more intelligent than us? And the second parameter is an ability to create different abstraction levels and successfully operate on them. But I think everyone had some friend or knows some academia guy who is perfect in mathematics or physics, but he can never build a business. He can never even find his glasses. But does it make him stupid or unintelligent? This is something that I like more. This is the second thought that we had. So we divided intelligence into 2 parts. The first is related to goal setting. Basically, it's the ability to to become something more complex than just a Homo sapiens. You can use the Maslow's pyramid here. On the basic level, you would see the animalistic patterns that we can use, that people have, is reproduction, survival, etc. The second level would be something that people use in order to communicate within the species level. And the cap of the triangle is the thirst for becoming more and more complex. The advancement on the goal-setting scale is actually the ability to desire something that is commonly thought to be impossible, and to actually capture this impossible thing with your intelligence and to act upon it and turn it into something which is fundamentally achievable with almost no effort. And the second part of that is goal reaching, is the ability to achieve results at the top of the pyramid of this, without ignoring the basic parts. And the subtypes or abilities that are included in the second thought are these ones: are communication, establishing contact, self-discipline, ability to take risks, to analyze and summarize the information. And this is the subtype of the intelligence of our second thought. Why still working on the basic levels is important? Because, for example, viruses are very primitive, but still we as human species still haven't managed to fight them. We're still dying from all that. But this doesn't make viruses intelligent of some sort. The humanistic level, I would see simple 9-to-5 workers on that level, because they actually do huge work in order to communicate with each other, in order to build something on that level. But they are pretty intelligent and pretty skilled. But again, they are not as intelligent as viruses, and they never want to opt out. And I think you also know some people from your environment that can be called pipe dreamers. Those are people that always theorizing about everything there ever can be, and they never actually do something worthful. They ignore the animalistic level of their life, and they ignore any kind of interaction, peer-to-peer interaction, or with using medium interaction with other peers in the species chain. This leads us, again, to the fear, because if we actually build, or if there appears something which would have all those abilities, which would be actually super intelligent regarding what we are now, then we cannot attribute the act, we cannot attribute the information, and we will be paralyzed in our acting, in our decision-making process. Because basically, these two parts of the pattern that we as animals use would be lost. But do cats recognize how milk appears in the fridge? Do they freak out because of that? No, they just don't understand. Humans are just separate things that live next to them. And the second question, do monkeys judge us as something more intelligent according to their moral principles, according to their code of ethics? No. Non-aggression principle is an approach for communication. There are different kinds of approaches to define what non-aggression principle is, and this is my favorite. This is the favorite one that I received from one of my friends. It's a principle to ask first and shoot later. For me, probably at some point, the non-aggression principle and almost every type of restriction that we build or we use in order to communicate with each other or exchange goods It's something which I call censorship of some point. And I'm very, very not sure whether NIP can become a new AI regulation. Because now we have GDPRs, we have bans for autonomous weapon research, we have everything banned according to some moral or ethical principles that we don't even actually share. I have the definition what we have today and what we'll have in the evening, because it's not even happening tomorrow, it's already happening, but probably a bit too quiet. All the AI regulations are now banning the development of the technology based on some climate change, gender equality. They screen that AI as a technology should serve us humans in order to receive some ethics and moral improvements and to help us actually fight the inequality. At manifesto.ai, we use different approach. We have some principles that we follow. We have principles that we are here to discuss, but we never try to force anyone to follow them until they share it. So basically, if you want to question what's happening, if you want to question the basic levels of the society, and if you want to question why something is happening and how can you contribute to it, please ask me questions. Try to opt out of the mental system that you have in your brain. Ask questions to yourself. Ask why you're doing something, why something is banned regarding the AI technology, and not even that. Only after breaking those cages, your mental cages, you can actually build something new and actually opt out of other systems. Thanks. If you, one thing. There's my email. So if you have some questions now, you can ask them. If you will have some questions, drop me an email and I will add you to the group of people that has been actually discussing all of that.
Thank you very much, Olga. That was great. I do have questions. Before you ask yours, please make sure you actually hold the mic so your questions are also recorded. One of the major areas that I feel that are being developed the most in AI is surveillance, and especially our Chinese comrades are heavily invested in this, and not just that, they're exporting their surveillance software with quite advanced, let's say, machine learning. I don't want to say AI because there is one step missing to a completion of that OODA loop, and that's the final action of those engines. And if you're following what's happening in Hong Kong vis-a-vis the extradition law, how the government is really real-time surveilling the streets and real-time targeting certain individuals to get them off the street. My question to you, Olga, is how far do you think, especially Chinese, but the world is towards the final step where the machines will be able to real-time analyze what's happening, decide, take an actual action?
Good question.
And what's needed to get there?
Probably this is the point. I'm not sure whether people should be that afraid of what's happening there. It really depends on the situation. It really depends on the nature of resistance between two types of agents, which is technological one basically, and us, humans. How far, when can we have the censorship that would prevent us from using the technology, building technology? We already having that. Machine learning, whether machine learning technologies would enable us, not the governments, not the labs, that work on that, when machine learning can enable us to have some power over resources and to actually at least try to build something, we already haven't that. So it's all over the place. It's already here.
Yeah, I
As a
mean,
technology, it's not robust. As a technology, it has a lot of flaws. It's not perfect, but again, we're not perfect also. So even if we have teeny tiny small algorithm put in a drone that can shoot someone else, it's a huge amount of power. So we already have that. We already can harm everyone else.
so what you're saying is that it's a race between the open source world and the governmental.
Yeah, yeah. Every technology is a weapon. It's just a race. It's just I think it's a matter of time and resources. And some kind of intelligence.
I mean, there was this idea of some hackers that actually know how to hack, to hack into these networks and use deepfake to replace live images and recordings. Well,
But there is also, in this situation, there is also a question of the recipient. Because if you are dumb enough not to distinguish cats and dogs, if you're not intelligent enough to know whether someone broke your code, whether the results that you receive are fake, then probably it's not a question of technology, it's more a question to you, whether you are a bad observer.
let's hope the governments are worse observers than we think.
Yeah, they are.
Please, questions from the... Yes.
So if I understand correctly, like the ultimate goal of AI development should be for the AI and the machines operated by that to respect the NAP, right? But like, isn't the problem that
No.
like a lot of people don't even respect the NAP because they like have no problem with taxation and like all other type of coercive activities. So I think like there are going to be inevitably like groups that are going to create AI that simply doesn't respect the NAP.
I think that AI should not respect the NAP because people don't follow it, and why should AI follow it?
So then that would mean that the fears that like AI will take over time are real, because if the AI just decides that humans are a nuisance on the planet, then we're done.
At the moment, we have a lot of different species and a lot of different groups of people even that do the same. They are there, they interact with you, but you don't even see them. They violate your rights. They do everything to complicate your life. They do everything to take your sovereignty from you. So why are you afraid of AI and not all of that? Groups of people or species?
Well, I don't think any species is that big of a danger to humans anymore.
Well, apes are now in the Stone Age.
Okay.
So they already can manufacture the tool that can kill you.
I think we
Still?
can kill
No?
them first if they start to cause trouble. But
You can foresee them, but it's for now. The speed of evolution is bigger now.
So do you
can
agree
never
with,
predict.
for example, Elon Musk when he says that like AI will take over time?
I really hope so. Well, I really
Okay.
hope that some kind of agent, I don't like the term AI, this is why I devoted a lot of time to the term intelligence, because no one knows what intelligence is, and there's no good definition, like proper definition for that. I really hope that there will appear an agent that will follow not some moral principles, not some ethics, which were created by humans, weaker species, actually. But they will follow the trading rules, the game theory rules, mathematics, and something that is not ruined at some point, probably, by moral etiquette or something like that.
And do you see like do you see it as a danger to humans or as an like evolutionary something like that humans can merge with AI, like in some kind of transhumanist way?
Well, A, it's a technology. You can use it for someone and against someone. And B, yes, I really think that if you are strong enough as an individual, if you are an individual, starting there, then you have some advantages. You can actually interact with these kinds of agents. If you're weak, if you don't want to think, if you don't want to build, if you don't want to get out of your system, then yes, it's a threat to you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your talk. If these agents break our OODA loop, then we're fucked. But how can we break their OODA loop?
Become smarter, have resources. I would say invent new types of resources. That's it. It's pretty simple, in theory.
And it starts with observation, right? So then these privacy tools are the first defense that we have.
Privacy tools, yes, is one of the huge amount of tools that we can use not against. I don't want to use it against AI agents, but for proper communicating with them. Because as long as you understand that no one is listening to what you're saying, and you can actually have a proper established channel of communication, then your agent is not a threat to you. Your other peer is not a threat to you. Because no one is looking, no one sees you, it's just two of you, that's it.
I always looked at life as from the perspective of war. I always I am familiar with libertarianism, and in this game you are playing in life, you try to advance your assets, your resource, your knowledge, and the non-aggression principle is something that you use as a tool to create a little frame in which you can communicate and then build relationships and interactions that bring added value. So the future, I don't know how it will look, but the zero-sum aspect and the value-added aspect, it's very hard to see where it's going now, because if you look at the self-interest of the AI can also come into existence. If you know Garepy, Jean-François Garepy, he talks about the revolutionary phenotype, and AI could develop in such a way that it uses mankind to further its own agenda, objectives. Is that not the problem we face, this existential threat we face the coming centuries when AI is released on us as a code also, because we are also machines that can be coded using genetics?
Well, a lot of, that's okay. First, you know what OODA loop is, which is perfect. If you look at the communication as a gathering of war principles or something. Second, all of us are used by governments, by other people, by other groups of people, by using different means. Tools, manipulations, threats, viruses, again, moral principles, ethics, guidelines, and all of that. I think that the question of AI using us as tools is not that huge, because we use each other as tools. Well, if you are not a sovereign individual, then you are used by someone else. It's a normal and natural way of things. Bacteria do the same thing to trees. So is just the evolution law.
But we also use animals. You know, we use grain. We select organisms that serve our means, and so we can breed
You
out
serve the
certain.
means for bacteria also, for a
Yes,
lot of
but
germs,
if you
because
look
you're just
at
a transmitter for
A
them.
dog, for instance, is a wolf, and we have bred out his ability to become alpha, become independent, to become sovereign, because the dog that is subservient to us and can become a useful tool in our own little tribe, in our own family, that dog, hey, he longer lives for the wolf, he lives to serve humankind.
Yeah.
Is that not the risk we take, that we are going to become domesticated? We already are becoming domesticated, but all the vital, more
Yeah.
the beautiful aspects are going to disappear in the next centuries.
There-
That could be
the-
very dangerous.
May I just add, like, one of the things that, and connect to what Max said, how to escape the OODA loop of the AI is probably to enhance ourselves. So start with the chip implants, right? And then there's this moral question of, okay, I can enhance my IQ 40 times, or I can step aside and say, I don't want that because I'm not ready to give up complete control and privacy, my inner space that will be probably the only private space that we'll have, right? With the chip implant, I can probably outsmart some of the machines or agents, as you call them, right?
Well,
But where's the actual position like to be as a human? Like, do I really want this, or do I want to be the second grade citizen because I will not enhance my IQ by 40 times?
well, if you ask me, I would prefer just to be self-sovereign, not to depend on third parties, to be able to interact with them, but still have some amount of resources in my disposal, to be smart enough to use those resources to my benefit, and to build something when I interact, if I want to exchange something that I've built with some else entity or someone else. So basically, being intelligent, just being smart, is not the solution for everything. You need to have resources, you need to have time, you need to have a lot of different things. This is why if you have just the top of the pyramid that I showed, yeah, you are smart, but still some guy from gang will just come over, shoot you down, and you're fucked up. So you need to be not just smarter, but you need to be self-sovereign, you need to have a lot of tools around you, and you need to be able to use them for your defense, even if the defense is an attacking point.
Nice talk, thank you. About the sense of humor, do you think next agents, they will smile at us, like we smile at cat videos or memes?
Have you seen the Joker's smile? I think something similar will appear. It's actually very easy to smile when you have a gun, if you have a lot of resources, if you are smart, if you have a strategy that you follow. You're always calm and smiling if you have all of that.
So when you talk about agents, what level of intelligence are you talking about? Is it some AI agent on a comparable level to us humans, or do you include some hyper-intelligent agent after a singularity?
At the moment, I'm questioning the approaches that we use in order to build artificial agents. Because what we do is we actually take very common patterns, very simple ones, and we try to make them proceed and work just faster or more efficient, and that's it. So basically, you are just reproducing the primitives in a different scale, or using the binary code. That's it, using the technology, the hardware. So nothing actually changes from that part. And I think that if we don't rethink and reconsider our approaches to building the agents, if we don't discover how actually our brain works, then we're still very primitive, and we will never ever compose something which would not be as primitive as we are. We will just be reproducing our flaws, our mindsets, our problems to different kind of hardware, I don't know, something like that. That's it.
Last chance for a question. No? Okay. So I'll just close with your manifesto. Here. The last sentence is: the future for both humanity and AI are in their successful cooperation. Multiplicity, decentralization, and open economy instead of governmental regulations and AI ethics. Thanks for writing that and being on stage today.
Thank you.